We're here today doing a little research, and we had Dr. Stanley on a few weeks ago, and he had talked about he had learned so much from her. It made me go in and research more about her to understand why he was so impressed by Lorraine Day. So we are sharing today what was found.
Yes. Dr. Lorraine Day. Here we go.
So you've just been diagnosed with cancer, and you're appropriately worried, anxious, scared, even terrified. Or maybe you've just found a lump that you think may be cancer. You don't know which way to turn. You can't think. Your brain is almost paralyzed. Your doctor is pressuring you to have surgery or chemotherapy or radiation right away. Your family is worried and upset, and they're pressuring you too. And your friends are giving their advice. Everyone's telling you what to do, but you're numb. It almost doesn't seem real. You're wondering, how could this be happening to you? Well, I know exactly how you feel. I've been right there myself. I'm not only a doctor, but I was a patient with cancer, severe advanced cancer. At one point, I was sent home to die. But I'm here to tell you that cancer doesn't scare me anymore. I had it and got well, without chemotherapy, without radiation, and without mutilating surgery. I got well by rebuilding my immune system by totally natural methods. When you've just been diagnosed with cancer, the fear can paralyze you so you can hardly think straight. But in this video, I'm going to show you that you don't have to fear cancer like everyone else does. You can learn about the factors that cause cancer and understand that you can take control of your health and get well. I'm going to lead you through the problems and questions that arise from the beginning when you first get your diagnosis or when you're just suspecting that something is very wrong with your health. And I'll show you how you can understand the steps you need to take to keep from damaging your body even more and instead get well. These principles will apply no matter what kind of cancer you have. Cancer is serious, but you have time to make intelligent decisions. Don't let anyone pressure you into rapidly making decisions that you don't understand or haven't had time to evaluate. Your cancer took years to develop. It didn't just happen yesterday or last week or last month. Cancer has been present in your body years before it becomes obvious or diagnosable. Now be sure you have a pencil and paper ready to take notes. It's been said that people only remember about 10% of what they hear, so please take notes. And watch this video repeatedly until you absorb and understand everything you need to know. Now let me give you my credentials. I'm Dr. Lorraine Day. I'm an MD, a medical doctor, trained in orthodox conventional medicine. I've never been on the fringes of medicine. For 15 years, I was on the faculty of the University of California, San Francisco School of Medicine as associate professor and vice chairman of the Department of Orthopedic Surgery. I was also chief of orthopedic surgery at San Francisco General Hospital, where I directed the equivalent of a MASH unit. I operated on the patients with gunshot wounds and stabbings, the severely injured accident victims, and all the other victims of violence, including gang violence that occurs in San Francisco. And during this time, I trained hundreds of doctors. But in 1992, I developed cancer, breast cancer. The lump was small at first, about half the size of an almond. It wasn't very worrisome to me because it was fairly high on my chest. I didn't think it was cancer, and certainly not breast cancer because of its location. But because it became irritated when I fastened my car seat belt, I decided to have it removed. When the lump was removed, the pathologist's diagnosis was cancer, invasive ductal adenocarcinoma of the breast, and it had already spread into the muscles of my chest wall. This was confirmed by numerous pathologists who examined the biopsy specimen. I was advised to have mastectomy and radiation, but I refused. I did allow a second biopsy through the same small incision 2 weeks later by another surgeon at another cancer hospital to see if the surgeon could remove all the tissue that was involved with the cancer. But cancer tissue still remained, and I was again advised at least to have radiation and preferably a mastectomy. My surgeon was a personal friend, someone I had known since my medical school days. We were in training at the same time, and he was concerned for my life. When he realized that I was completely against mastectomy, radiation, and chemotherapy, he was astonished and confused and very worried about me. Of course, he couldn't understand my reasoning. I had taken my training at the same university medical school that he had, the University of California, San Francisco School of Medicine. He knew very well that I had been a professor there for 15 years. Where had I gotten these strange ideas? I told him that I had seen too many thousands of patients die from the treatments we give them. He couldn't disagree with that. I told him that the way we doctors are taught to treat cancer is barbaric and worthy of the Dark Ages. With our treatments, we cause additional, intense, horrible suffering to a person who is already ill. He couldn't argue with that, except to admit that that's all we're taught to do. And I discussed with him that radiation and chemotherapy both cause cancer, and I reminded him that I already had cancer. And I said that chemotherapy and radiation would destroy my immune system. Why would I want to do more damage to my immune system, the one system that could get me well? He couldn't disagree with that. Yet he pled with me and even pressured me at least to sit down and talk with the radiation doctor. I refused. He pled again. I politely refused. Finally, he said, "Are you just worried that after radiation you'll have a breast that's leathery, deformed, and discolored?" And I said, "Well, yeah, that too." Then I handed him 4 or 5 books on alternative therapies with testimonials of many who had reversed their cancers. I'm quite sure he's never opened the cover of even one of those books. So I went home and dramatically changed my diet immediately. I knew that the proper diet was critical for recovery. I started on a totally vegetarian diet, a vegan diet. That means no meat, no poultry, no fish, no milk, no cheese, or any other dairy products, and no eggs. I also eliminated refined sugar and all processed food. I ate nothing from a box or a can. Everything was in its most natural form, right from the garden or off of the tree. And I started drinking a lot of fresh homemade vegetable juice. Everything went fine for a while. The diet was the right diet. But I soon found out that diet alone is not enough to reverse cancer or other serious diseases. But at that time, I didn't know what else was necessary. About 9 months later, my tumor returned in the very same place. This time, it was a little larger, about the size of a marble. Now I was very concerned. It was clear that my dietary changes were not enough to get me well. I had read a lot about alternative therapies, and I started trying one after another, trying each one long enough to see if it would work. Eventually, I tried over 40 different types of alternative therapies, and none of them worked. I discussed the 40 I tried and many more on my video, Sorting Through the Maze of Alternative Medicine, What Works, What Doesn't, and Why. Then suddenly, my tumor grew from the size of a marble to the size of a large grapefruit. And it did this just over a period of just 3 weeks.
Wow.
Here's a side view. That's tumor.
Whoa.
And this view shows the full extent of the tumor. It was the size of a softball. By this time, the cancer had spread to the lymph nodes under my arm and at the base of my neck, and I knew I was in big trouble. At first, surprisingly, the tumor wasn't very painful, but over time the pain became more and more intense until even the strongest narcotic pain medicine wouldn't touch it. Up until this time, I was still working, which was a big mistake. I should have stopped working and concentrated on getting well. I was even still traveling. But I found out it's impossible to stay on the total plan necessary to get well while you're traveling. Now I became so sick I had to close my office. As things got worse, I became essentially bedridden, and the pain continued to increase. The tumor was so heavy that when I got up, even to go to the bathroom, I had to support the weight of the tumor with my hand. My body was in total collapse. I had symptoms of numerous other diseases besides cancer. Not only did I have this huge, painful tumor on my chest that I had to look at every day, but I had developed a tremor in my right hand that was a specific symptom of Parkinson's, like this. In addition, I had symptoms of multiple sclerosis on the left side of my body. My leg became numb from my knee down. I lost some control of my left leg, and my left arm felt like someone was always grabbing it. The tips of my fingers and toes became numb and cold, a disorder called Raynaud syndrome. I developed what appeared to be allergies to all foods except 3. Whenever I would eat any other foods, I would collapse and have to be on oxygen. And I was overwhelmed with depression and anxiety to the point that my heart felt like it was going to jump right out of my chest. I was a mess. For over a year, I continued to get worse, all the time becoming more anxious and more discouraged. But I kept going forward. I kept studying and trying one thing after another. And I kept studying the Bible and praying, asking the Lord to show me how to get well. But nothing worked. My cancer kept getting worse. Because my pain was becoming intolerable, I found one surgeon who was willing to remove a portion of the tumor just for pain relief, without forcing me to have mastectomy or a chemotherapy. And all the rest of the tumor was left in place, including the lymph nodes. Then they sent me home to die. I became so sick that I was essentially bedridden for 6 months. As my cancer progressed, I became unable to eat and then unable to take fluids. At one point, I was not expected to live through the night. My husband, who saw my life rapidly ebbing away as my breathing became more and more labored, said to me, "I've got to take you to the emergency room. You're dying." And I knew I was. As a trauma surgeon caring for victims of massive injuries, I've seen a lot of people die. I know what death looks like, and I was dying. But I refused to go. I knew that if I went to the hospital, they would give me drugs, and I had so little life left in me that the drugs would kill me. I also knew that God says in His Word that He forgives all our sins and heals all our diseases. God says, "I am the Lord who heals you." My husband and I had been praying together 3 times a day, every day since I'd been ill. I had claimed the healing promises in the Bible, while at the same time following everything I knew how to do, including eating the original diet God gave in the Garden of Eden: fruits, grains, and vegetables in their most natural form. I decided I had to continue to trust God. I wanted to stay under His protection and depend on Him rather than depend on human medical knowledge, which is nothing more than drugs. The English word pharmacy comes from the Greek word pharmakia. It means sorceries and witchcraft. The word druggist, pharmacist, comes from the Greek word pharmakon, which means poisoner. I wouldn't take drugs. I prayed silently and admitted to the Lord that I had no idea how I could get well at this point. I had tried everything I knew how to do, and everything had failed.
One more time.
I am the Lord who heals you.
Do you realize that?
My husband and I had been praying together 3 times a day, every day since I'd been ill. I had claimed the healing promises in the Bible, while at the same time following everything I knew how to do, including eating the original diet God gave in the Garden of Eden: fruits, grains, and vegetables in their most natural form. I decided I had to continue to trust God. I wanted to stay under His protection and depend on Him rather than depend on human medical knowledge, which is nothing more than drugs. The English word pharmacy comes from the Greek word pharmakia. It means sorceries and witchcraft. The word druggist, pharmacist, comes from the Greek word pharmakon, which means poisoner. I wouldn't take drugs. I prayed silently and admitted to the Lord that I had no idea how I could get well at this point. I had tried everything I knew how to do, and everything had failed. But I was going to trust God completely. My husband prayed over me all night long, and I continued to pray silently. I didn't have enough energy to pray out loud. Because I'd been unable to eat for 2 weeks nor take in fluids for 3 days, I was rapidly becoming very dehydrated. I knew I couldn't live much longer without water. Then the Lord impressed on my mind something I had heard was done in medicine 60 or 70 years ago before the introduction of intravenous fluids. Dehydrated patients could be rehydrated through the colon by water dripped in slowly by enema. The colon can absorb water and even nutrition in the form of wheatgrass juice, carrot juice, or green leafy vegetable juice. That's the way I stayed alive for the next few days until I could drink. At that point of death, I had decided to trust God with my life, and He showed me what to do. Then over the next few weeks and months, I started to understand the rest of the 10-step plan. Sometimes the information would come to me through the mail anonymously. Sometimes I would be impressed to study in a certain area, and information that I had previously read now became clear in the way it applied to my situation. Of course, all the time I continued to pray and ask the Lord to show me the way to get well. Finally, the entire plan became clear. From the time I started on the whole 10-step plan with 100% commitment.
Now she's talking about the same thing that Leah was talking about, that she was guided from Source to talk to certain people about the patches, the light therapy patches, right?
Yeah. Researching is the best thing. That's what we do. We research.
Yes, because look what we found. Patty, did you know that about pharmaceutical?
No.
The word?
My friend Gigi does, and she's going to love this video because she literally told me about this a few months ago, and I didn't know. Interesting. Thank you, Gigi.
Yeah, yes, because everything that we ask for, because we ask for truth to come to us, right?
That's right.
So everything that we ask for does come to us. But the other thing is, are we willing to accept what's coming to us?
We will only accept it when we need it.
Like she was talking about, she really got into talking to the Source and really knowing that He's going to take care of her no matter what, that the Source within is going to heal, because that's what it's here to do. We are made of light. With this technology of all natural light therapy, the way we're supposed to heal is huge.
I wonder if she's still alive.
That's a good question. She's going to reveal a few more things.
You want me to start?
Yes, thank you, Patty.
It was just 8 months until all my cancer was gone. It went away slowly, one day at a time. Then it took an additional 10 months for me to regain my strength. So in 18 months, I was totally well and cancer-free. I'll soon be 64 years old, and I'm healthier than when I was 30. I have lots of energy, and I don't have an ache or a pain anywhere. So what does cause cancer? The medical establishment seems to be continuously scratching their heads wondering what the causes could be. And they're really only looking in one place, and that's genetics. But cancer is not genetic. A genetic link can clearly be disproved in almost every case just by a little common sense. Here's an illustration. Breast cancer. Since the early 1900s, the incidence of breast cancer has continued to rise dramatically. All the experts and national medical organizations agree. Well, in the early 1900s, it was the grandmothers of today's women who were alive, your grandmother and my grandmother. But they had a very low incidence of breast cancer compared to their granddaughters, we who are alive today. Clearly, if the incidence of breast cancer is rising dramatically, it cannot be due to a genetic transmission from one's ancestors.
Absolutely.
Because the ancestors of the women today rarely had breast cancer. Look at the incidence of breast cancer in Japan. In the grandmothers in Japan, who had been eating a diet mainly of rice and vegetables and a small amount of fish, the incidence of breast cancer has been very low. But take those same women and bring them to America and put them on a rich Western diet, which is largely meat, chicken, dairy products, eggs, and processed food, and you'll find that their incidence of breast cancer and virtually every other cancer becomes the same as Americans. Even the young women who are still in Japan but who are now eating a diet similar to the rich Western diet, they're developing the same incidence of breast cancer and many other cancers that young American women are developing. If this were a genetic problem, there would be a high incidence in the grandmothers who would then be passing it down to their granddaughters, but this is not the case. It's the reverse. The grandmothers don't have breast cancer, and the granddaughters do. We see the same pattern with arthritis, autoimmune disease, diabetes, and many other diseases. They're not genetic. It's their diet and lifestyle. Cancer and virtually every other disease is caused by a combination of three factors: malnutrition, dehydration, and stress. Malnutrition is rampant in the United States. Now, this has nothing to do with not eating enough calories. People are eating too many calories, but it's a diet high in fat and protein and very low in vitamins and minerals from fruits, vegetables, and grains. So it's a diet of excess on one hand, too much animal fat and protein, and a diet of deficiency on the other hand, not enough fruit, grains, and vegetables. The second factor is dehydration, because no one's drinking water anymore. Everyone's drinking coffee and soda. The body is 75% water, and the brain is 85% water. The brain is not 85% Coke, and it's not 85% coffee. It's 85% water. Caffeine is a diuretic. It takes more water out of your body than comes in with a drink. When cells become progressively dehydrated, they start getting sick and malfunctioning, and then you get sick. And the third cause is stress. Now, I'm not suggesting that you drop out of society, but there is a way to reduce your stress and learn to handle it properly. Stress is a major cause of every disease. This booklet is published by the American Cancer Society. It's a cancer journal for clinicians. This is the November-December 1999 issue, and it says on page 347 that a third of all cancers could be prevented by a change in diet and lifestyle, by increasing the intake of fruits and vegetables and reducing the consumption of red meat and animal fats, and by exercising. They add that there is a wealth of new data on diet and cancer in the last 2 decades, and that's continued to support the hypothesis that nutrition is a major influence in the cause and prevention of cancer. And that's a quote. Well, how about that? The American Cancer Society finally admits that what you eat actually has something to do with how healthy or how sick you are. Imagine that. The Harvard School of Public Health makes even more dramatic statements. They admit that 65% of all cancers could be prevented by a change in diet and lifestyle. I believe that a change in diet and lifestyle would prevent 99.9% of all cancers, but these other organizations are at least recognizing the truth somewhat. Now let's use a little common sense. If, as both the American Cancer Society and the Harvard School of Public Health say, that a change in diet and lifestyle could prevent between 1/3 and 2/3 of all cancers, then how do you reverse cancer once you have it? Well, first of all, you stop putting into your body the things that cause the cancer in the first place. And yet, when you go to the hospital and they fill you with chemotherapy and radiation, they also bring you the very food that the American Cancer Society says causes cancer. That's the same thing they do with heart patients who undergo coronary artery bypass. The meals they bring them are meat or chicken with gravies and dessert. A high sugar, high animal fat diet, which are some of the main factors that got the patient there in the first place. If the doctors in the hospital are looking for a repeat patient for another coronary artery bypass, that's the way to feed them. That's also the way to increase the growth of the cancer in a cancer patient. So the proper diet is critical for recovery from cancer, but it's only 10% of the total plan necessary to get well. Diet alone, even the proper one, is not enough by itself to get you well from cancer. Are all cancers different, or are they basically the same? We doctors organize the types of cancer and categorize them into many subcategories. But cancer is cancer. Virtually all cancer is a result of an immune system that's not working properly. It's your immune system that resists disease and gets you well when you're sick and keeps you well if it's functioning properly. It doesn't matter whether it's breast cancer or prostate cancer or cancer of the stomach or leukemia or brain cancer or Hodgkin's or any other type of cancer. All cancer is the result of an immune system that's not working properly. When you rebuild your immune system by natural methods, then your immune system can fight the cancer. Well, don't some of these alternative natural treatments work better for some people and others work better for other people since everybody is different? Well, I've got some shocking news for you. Everybody is not different. Everybody is exactly the same on the inside. Our personalities are different, but we're all the same on the inside. That's why we can have medical textbooks of anatomy and textbooks of physiology, because everybody's the same on the inside. What if you came to me as a patient and you said, I have pain in my left shoulder, and I said to you, well, maybe it's your appendix. And you would say, no, my appendix is down here in my abdomen. And I'd say, well, no, everybody's different. We don't know where your appendix is. Of course we know, because everybody's appendix is in the same place. And everybody's stomach works like everybody else's stomach. And your intestines work like my intestines, and your heart works like my heart. That's why we surgeons know where to cut to find various organs on everybody, because everybody's the same. So since your physiology and your anatomy are the same as everybody else's, then everyone's immune system can be rebuilt by the same natural methods. So the same health plan works for everyone.
Isn't that
So
amazing?
what are these 10 steps, these 10 natural laws of health? Briefly, they are the following. Oh, by the way, I discussed the plan I use to get well in great detail on my video, You Can't Improve on God. But here's the plan in brief. First is proper nutrition, as we discussed. As I said, even the American Cancer Society and the Harvard School of Public Health admit that a diet of fruits, grains, and vegetables is one of the best preventions for cancer, and that a diet high in animal fat is one of the causes of cancer. 3 meals a day of only natural, unprocessed food and lots of fresh homemade vegetable juice. That's the diet. Second, exercise. Numerous medical studies have shown that a regular exercise program has a profound effect in reducing the incidence of cancer. For instance, studies have shown that 4 hours per week of exercise results in a 66% decrease in the incidence of breast cancer in women. 3 is water drinking. As I said, the body is 75% water, the brain is 85% water. We lose 10 glasses of water from our body every day just by living. If we don't replace those water losses, and if we drink caffeine and alcohol, both of which are diuretics that take more water out of your body than comes in with the drink, we are slowly but progressively dehydrating our body and making ourselves sick one day at a time. Dehydration is one of the causes of virtually all disease, including cancer. Sunlight, absolutely necessary for good health. You can't grow a healthy garden nor a healthy body without sunlight. Sunlight boosts the immune system and decreases the size of internal cancerous tumors, along with many other advantages. 5 is temperance. That means elimination of all harmful substances such as caffeine, alcohol, tobacco, sugar, NutraSweet, MSG, food preservatives, food dyes, and other food chemicals, processed food, and drugs, both street drugs and drug medications. All drug medications have side effects that are harmful to your body. Now, I'm not suggesting that anybody stop their medications abruptly. That's dangerous. But as you get on a totally natural program and rebuild your immune system, eventually you'll not need drug medications anymore. Fresh air. Outside air is essential for good health. Cancerous tumors grow twice as fast if a person is breathing indoor air compared to breathing outdoor air. If you're being treated for your illness in a hospital, you are continuously breathing in the exhaled air of every other sick patient in the hospital. Hospitals frequently have the windows sealed shut. And in the intensive care unit, the lights are off and on 24 hours a day, upsetting the patient's circadian rhythm. That's their day-night cycle. That's a critical factor in causing disease. Next is proper rest at the proper time of night. The only time your body can really repair itself is when you're sleeping. Every cancer patient should be in bed by 9:30 p.m. at least. That's when the healing hormones begin to be produced, but you must be asleep to get the benefit. Stress relief. Stress is one of the major causes of all disease, including cancer. The best way to relieve stress, as documented by medical studies, is to learn to trust in God and read the Bible. Eastern meditation and visualization are to be avoided if you really want to get well. Well, can I get well without trusting in God? The answer is the better you eat and live, the healthier you'll be. But in order to reverse a serious disease like cancer, you've got to change everything about your life. And that's impossible to do without God's help. I hear people say, but I'm not interested in this God and religion stuff. Well, my answer is, look where you've gotten yourself on your own. You have cancer as I did. I'd been an agnostic for all of my adult life, but I figured I needed all the help I could get, and that included God. 9 is an attitude of gratitude. Be thankful for what you have. The words that come out of your mouth in large part create your reality. I can tell within 5 minutes of talking to a person with cancer whether they're going to get well or not. If they're complaining and whining and focusing on their own weaknesses and trying to blame others or God for their illness, they have no chance in getting well. It's the person who's committed to doing everything necessary, who has an upbeat, positive spirit, who will grab hold of the plan with 100% commitment. That person will get well. And the 10th step is a spirit of benevolence. Get outside yourself. Selfishness is a problem with everyone. We've got to learn to care about other people and quit focusing on ourselves so much. The Bible says that if you care for others, your health will spring forth speedily. If you're very sick and bedridden, as I was for a long period of time while I was ill, I couldn't do things for other people, but I could pray for them and quit focusing on my own problems. And what you put in your mind is just as important as what you put in your mouth. You can't get well if you watch regular entertainment TV. I had to stop watching even the news. No movies, no TV, no music except high-quality Christian music and classical music. And I read only the Bible and high-quality religious books. We must concentrate on only things that are true, honest, pure, beautiful, and good. Every negative thought must be eliminated from our mind. Now, I know these steps seem too simple. It's hard for the average person to believe that serious diseases like cancer can be reversed by such simple techniques. But as simple as they may seem, they're also difficult because they require a change in the way you live. We want to keep on living and eating the same way we always did and have the doctor just give us a little pill to solve the problem. But drugs never cure disease. Cancer is not caused by a deficiency of chemotherapy. Cancer is not caused by a deficiency of radiation or a deficiency of surgery. But cancer is caused by a violation of these 10 laws of health. There is a way for you to be well. As I said, I discussed this 10-step plan that I use to get well in detail on my video, You Can't Improve on God. And the good news is all 10 steps of the entire plan are completely free except for food, and you have to buy that anyway. Now you know there is a way to get well. You don't have to be pressured by doctors or family members or friends. And even though cancer is a serious disease and you must rebuild your immune system to reverse it, you and I know that you don't have to be afraid of cancer anymore. In order for you to be convinced that this plan works, you must start investigating it for yourself. Watch my videos repeatedly and take notes. Read the books and watch the videos I give you as reference material at the end of this video and my other videos. Start with one at a time. Don't just believe me. Learn for yourself. That's the only way you'll be convinced.
That's exactly what we do. We learn.
That was very good. I've never seen her before. And good for her for doing it herself and for being strong. She looks amazing.
Yeah, but it's amazing because isn't this kind of like what David was talking about like today in the webinar of health and how you eat, how you take care of your body, heart health? Yes. I thank you, Patty, for sharing this. And as you can tell, we only went through a small portion of this video. There is so much to learn because we only went through a few minutes of this video, and look how much information was in that small part.
Absolutely.
What she talks about how the medical system is actually not there to make you healthy. Like she said, it's barbaric. It's dark age medicine. It's from the dark ages.
And we are showing this because we've had our necks cut too. So if we were instructed, yes, I've had thyroid surgery, Katana's had thyroid surgery. If we knew more about this, that was taught to us from the beginning of our lives and really implemented it in school, made this a normal way to instruct children and parents, we would have a different world. But we have a very sick world right now.
Yes, but it's changing. There's many things changing. Like Lorraine Day, she's like a pioneer of standing up for herself and showing others that they can stand up for themselves. We should take our own health in our own hands. Thank you for coming. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.